Good morning. Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Voters who initially chose Nikki Haley as their pick for president will be crucial in the November election. Both President Biden and former President Trump battle over this group. We have analysis.
The U.S. will contribute $300 million to a multinational security mission that seeks to restore order in Haiti. That's as Haiti's embattled prime minister resigns after weeks of escalating gang violence in the Caribbean nation.
The House is set to vote on a bipartisan bill to ban TikTok from U.S. app stores if it doesn't break from its Chinese regime-linked parent company. Lawmakers now warning the company to stop pressuring users to lobby Congress against the measure.
FBI Director Christopher Wray warns of a wide array of dangerous threats coming across the southern border, including a human smuggling network with ties to ISIS.
A Boeing whistleblower found dead in his car on the same day he's due to testify in court. What officials are saying about his death.
President Biden unveiling a $7 trillion election year budget aimed at convincing skeptical Americans that he has what it takes to run the economy.
Seafood lovers are gathering at this year's Seafood Expo North America in Boston. We'll get a closer look at what's trending and hear from some industry experts.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday, March 12th.
Yeah, and Evelyn, it's not much of a contest with Haley dropping out, but today is an important day for the presidential election.
Well, absolutely. The two presidents will be able to officially nail their nomination today.
Yeah, that's right. Clinching it in it's setting us up for a rematch. And the last rematch was in 1956 between Dwight D. Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson.
Right. So today's top news. President Biden relied on strong support from black voters in 2020, but this year, the black residents of Georgia seem less enthusiastic about him.
A recent poll found that nearly 1/3 of black voters between 18 and 49 are currently undecided.
And some black voters say they are tired of delivering big results for candidates only to be met with apathy.
The chair of the Georgia Black Republican Council says the Biden administration's lack of solutions has created an opportunity for Republicans.
Under this administration, the black community has, in terms of getting solutions to their problems, a lot of them are not quite sure that Biden is the answer.
Well, I think that in 2024, the black vote is going to be pretty powerful to move the Biden over the edge again.
I think black people are tired. A lot of them tired. And I think either way it goes, we still gonna wind up with the same results, because that's what always happens.
Black voters in this country historically are the largest and most loyal voting bloc for the Democratic Party. And so the Democratic Party needs to understand and respect that.
Here for a profile of the unique and crucial segment of voters that chose Nikki Haley as their first choice, and how President Biden and former President Trump are seeking to win them over for a better shot at victory, is Lawrence Wilson, a reporter for the Epoch Times. Lawrence, great to have you with us. Let's start off with the data. It shows that a significant share of the voters who chose Haley in the primaries, at least in the open primaries, were Democrats and independents. Tell us more about the political makeup of these sought-after Haley voters.
Well, just as you said, there's a very large share of independents, of course, is that they will vote in either party depending on their preference particularly. So that makes them a highly coveted group of people for both Republicans and Democrats, because there aren't enough voters on either side to carry the election. They need independents. So those Haley voters represent a significant opportunity for both the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, most of the Democratic voters who voted for Haley in the open primaries, a lot of them have said they'll go back and vote for Biden. They did before, they'll probably do it again.
Very interesting, Lawrence. And when we look at the data also, yeah, you were saying?
Well, the independents were less sure about what they'll do.
Right. Okay, yeah. And so, Lawrence, and that was 6% of the Democrats that Haley was able to pull, greater than Trump in New Hampshire and 14% in Virginia here. Next, what financial category do Haley voters fall into?
Well, these are folk who have tended to feel that the economy is doing okay. They have tended to report that they thought the economy is good. In a couple of the exit polling results, 1/3 said they thought that they were getting ahead financially, and 60% thought they were holding their own. So in a lot of places, Haley voters tend to be, I wouldn't say more upscale, but at least more comfortable than some other voters. They think the economy is doing well. That probably will not be an issue for them in this election.
That is a fascinating statistic. So how are President Biden and former President Trump appealing to this group that sided with Haley?
Well, they both reached out to Haley voters immediately with messages saying that Haley voters are welcome in their coalition. President Trump actually did that even just ahead of Haley's announcement, and President Biden followed very quickly after that. They're trying to show that they are the most natural place for Haley voters to go. Whether Haley voters are buying either pitch, we're just not sure yet.
Yes, and Lawrence, with Haley out of the race, just leaving the front runners here, Trump and Biden, can we get an idea about how these Haley voters will vote in Georgia's primary?
Well, that'll be interesting to see. For one thing, it'll be interesting to see how many people show up, given that the nomination is pretty much sealed now. There are only two people in the race, one on each side. I think it will be interesting to see, one, if there is a protest vote for Haley. People keep voting for Haley, even though she's not in the race. Few people do that. Few people voted for DeSantis after he had left the race. But it will be interesting to see if those voters break one way or another. Participation will be the key factor in assessing that. If participation is good, maybe we get an idea. If participation is down, who knows?
Yes, a lot to look forward to there. Now, polls show that black voters in Georgia ahead of today's primary are having reservations about the cost of living going up under Biden. What can we expect to see here from this group in the general election?
Well, polling has showed for the last 3 or 4 months that black voters are beginning to break toward Trump. I myself met some black voters on the campaign trail. I went in California most recently when I was there for their Super Tuesday primary. And a lot of them are voting on the economy. Some are craving a little more order in the world, feeling that the international situation needs to be brought under control, also the border. So I think we will see a stronger support for President Trump among black voters than we have in any recent election for Republican.
Yeah, very interesting statistics. And these black voters across the country are about split, 49%, 48% on their approval and disapproval of Biden's job in office here. Lawrence Wilson, reporter for the Epoch Times. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And former President Trump announced his support yesterday for former Congressman Mike Rogers in Michigan's GOP Senate primary.
The endorsement comes as Republicans look to flip the seat currently held by Democrat Debbie Stabenow, who's now set to retire at the end of her term.
In a social media post, the former president said Rogers will work closely with him to enact America First policies.
Rogers will face several other Republicans in the Senate primary. A poll last month showed him well ahead of the other known competitors.
Rogers served as a lieutenant in the U.S. Army before going on to work for the FBI. He previously served in the Michigan State Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives, where he was the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
A major shakeup is underway at the Republican National Committee, with dozens of layoffs reported yesterday. Anonymous RNC sources told multiple news outlets that cuts affect around 60 staff members. Departments being slashed include political, data, and communications, along with 5 senior positions. The shakeup comes just days after Trump's hand-picked team took control of the organization. The presumptive GOP nominee is looking to merge his campaign operations with the RNC. That's after the organization elected North Carolina GOP Chair Michael Whatley as its new chairperson last week. Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, will serve as the new RNC co-chair.
And a new report accuses the January 6th committee of concealing key information. The report provided evidence contradicting several claims that Democrats made about former President Trump. NTD's legal correspondent Arlene Richards has more.
Congressman Barry Loudermilk released on Friday a transcribed interview the January 6th Select Committee conducted with President Trump's former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Anthony Ornato. He says it shows that former President Trump pushed for 10,000 National Guard troops to protect the nation's capital. The committee previously said there was no evidence that Trump called for that many troops. Loudermilk is accusing the committee of withholding Ornato's testimony from the American people because it contradicted their predetermined narrative. In the transcribed interview, Ornato testified about a conversation he recalled regarding the number of National Guard troops. He recalls former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows telling D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser that the president wants to make sure that you have enough. You know, he is willing to ask for 10,000. Ornato testified that Bowser declined the offer, instead asking for just a few hundred troops and requiring that they serve in a very limited capacity. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And in former President Trump's legal battles, Trump's attorneys yesterday pushed to put his New York trial for alleged hush money payments on hold. That's until the Supreme Court rules on his presidential immunity claim. Trump's legal team has argued that their client is shielded from prosecution because he was still in office when the alleged actions took place. The Supreme Court is scheduled to hear the immunity case on April 25th and could issue a ruling as late as July. Meanwhile, the former president is expected to attend a hearing in Florida on Thursday over his handling of classified documents. Trump faces a number of charges in this case, including willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and corruptly concealing a document. He has pleaded not guilty to all counts. Trump is scheduled to go on trial on May 20th, but a delay could be on the table.
And Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry is resigning from his post.
Henry tendered his resignation after multi-nation talks in Jamaica. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged $300 million to a Kenyan-led security mission at the meeting. Here's the story.
On Monday, leaders from the Regional Trade Bloc Caribbean Community, or CARICOM, met in Jamaica to discuss the crisis unfolding in Haiti. Prime Minister Ariel Henry has been heading the Haitian government since 2021, after the last president was assassinated. He repeatedly postponed elections, saying security must first be restored. Last week, armed gangs took control of the capital, Port-au-Prince, demanding Henry step down. CARICOM Chair and President of Guyana, Irfan Ali, acknowledged Henry's resignation and talked about the establishment of a transitional presidential council. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the council would be tasked with meeting the immediate needs of Haitian people, enabling the security mission's deployment, and creating security conditions necessary for free elections. He also said the U.S. would increase its contribution to the security mission.
I'm announcing today that the United States Department of Defense is doubling its approved support for the mission from $100 million to $200 million. And that brings the total U.S. support to $300 million for this effort.
Blinken also announced another $33 million in humanitarian aid. The proposals had the backing of CARICOM members. The Jamaican Prime Minister said the meeting was an important first step for Haiti, where gangs have virtually taken over the country.
We're all agreed that this cannot be allowed to happen, not in our hemisphere, with our long-standing democratic tradition.
Meanwhile, in Haiti, powerful gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, better known by the alias Barbecue, was out in the streets of Port-au-Prince shooting his gun in a show of force. Cherizier told reporters that if the international community continues down the road they're on, it will plunge Haiti into further chaos.
Today it's clear that the people who live in the shanty towns are the ones who know what they are going through. It is the Haitian people who are going to take their destiny into their own hands. Haitian people will pick the person to govern them.
Since February, gunmen have burned police stations, closed the main international airports, and raided the country's two biggest prisons, releasing more than 4,000 inmates.
Coming up, the House of Representatives is set to vote on a bipartisan bill that could decide TikTok's future in the U.S.
Lawmakers are now warning TikTok to stop its influence campaign against the measure ahead of tomorrow's vote.
President Biden unveiling a $7 trillion election year budget aimed at convincing skeptical Americans that he has what it takes to run the economy. That's after.
Chief Division Counsel and DOJ have approved a no-knock breach. We want the subject to be on display, doing the walk of shame, full visual impact. Any questions?
Are we becoming a police state? We don't need to have a crime. What we need is a person to look at. And then we go find out what crime you did.
FBI! Our focus is shifting. Our main priority as a bureau is going to be domestic terrorism.
It really paints anybody who's right of center. If you're a pro-life, pro-family Catholic, they define you as radical.
These are anti-government.
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech.
Violent extremists, and they must be dealt with. We can do anything we want.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Good to have you back. A House vote on a bill that could decide TikTok's future in the U.S. is set for tomorrow. The proposed measure would ban TikTok from app stores unless it's broken off from its Chinese regime-linked parent company, ByteDance.
Leaders of the House panel and the Chinese Communist Party are now demanding that TikTok stop its pressure campaign on users ahead of tomorrow's vote. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg tells us more.
Leaders of the Select Committee on the CCP told TikTok on Tuesday to stop deceiving users with false information about a bill meant to purge the app of Chinese Communist Party influence. Chairman Mike Gallagher and Ranking Member Raja Krishnamurthy accused TikTok of spreading false claims to manipulate and mobilize Americans on behalf of the Chinese regime.
As outlined in our bipartisan bill, if TikTok is completely divested by CCP-controlled ByteDance, if there is a separation, the app can remain in the United States.
The letter includes a screenshot of TikTok's pop-up with a red Call Now button. The rally call asks users to speak up now before the government strips 170 million people of their constitutional right to free expression. TikTok claims the measure is equivalent to a total ban. The bill would give TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance about 6 months to divest the short video app. The two lawmakers noted TikTok had solicited location information in its campaign, calling the act a new low. The House is set to vote Wednesday under fast-track rules that require a 2/3 yes vote for the bill to pass. President Biden says he would sign the bill if it passes Congress. That's after a House committee unanimously voted to advance the measure last week. Democratic Representative Debbie Dingell says she and other committee members voted to separate TikTok from the Chinese Communist Party, not to ban it.
We've had classified briefings. I thought long and hard, and quite frankly, what TikTok did on Thursday, flooding my office and other offices with calls of kids who didn't know why they were calling us, shows the kind of control that they have. I want TikTok to continue. I don't want the People's Republic of China controlling the data, the access to the data, and manipulating the data that they are doing. It is a threat to our national security.
House Speaker Mike Johnson calls the bill an important bipartisan measure to take on China, the U.S.'s largest geopolitical foe. The bill will likely need at least 60 senators' approval to make it to Biden's desk. Senators from both sides of the aisle are expressing concern about the CCP's access to data through the app and its ability to push propaganda. Some suggest changes are needed if the bill passes in the House.
You could eliminate TikTok, but they could open it up tomorrow, TokTik, whatever you want to call it, and do the same thing.
Former President Trump told CNBC's Squawk Box on Tuesday he believes TikTok is a threat to national security, but that a ban would impact young people and could benefit Facebook and its influence in elections. Trump moved to ban TikTok and WeChat through an executive order while in office, but courts blocked the action after TikTok sued on grounds that a ban would violate free expression and due process rights. Biden bans TikTok on federal devices for around 4 million employees in 2022. Both the FBI and Federal Communications Commission warned TikTok owner ByteDance can share user data, like browsing history, location, and biometrics with the Chinese regime. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
President Biden proposing tax hikes on high earners in his budget plan for next year.
That's as he continues attacks on former President Trump while the White House downplays his comments on illegal immigrants. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more from Manchester, New Hampshire, where the president was campaigning yesterday.
And President Biden hitting the campaign trail hard in New Hampshire and touts his latest budget plan while repeatedly takes aim at his 2024 rival, former President Trump.
If he gets elected, he's publicly stated he'd try to repeal every single thing we've done so far.
Unveiling his $7.3 trillion budget plan for fiscal year 2025, Biden says he wants to hike taxes for large corporations and wealthy Americans. That, Biden says, would cut the national deficit.
But I'm a capitalist, man. Make all the money you want. Just begin to pay your fair share of taxes.
But the plan has little chance of becoming law as House Republicans quickly dismissed it as misguided and using taxpayer dollars for Biden's left-wing agenda. And some Trump supporters protesting Biden outside of a small venue here said this about Biden's message of lowering costs.
Right now we're paying $1,100 more per family just to do the same things we did a few years ago. And so I don't know how his policies are going to help.
And as Biden continues his campaign blitz following his State of the Union address, the controversy is growing after he said he regretted using the term illegal to describe the migrant who killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
The White House on Monday tried to downplay it.
The president absolutely did not apologize. There was no apology anywhere in that conversation. He did not apologize. He used a different word.
And Trump this weekend criticized Biden's latest comments.
Biden should be apologizing for apologizing to this killer.
And thus, as President Biden is expected to continue targeting Trump in his campaign speeches coming up this week in Wisconsin and Michigan. Reporting in Manchester, New Hampshire, Iris Tao, NTD News.
For analysis on President Biden's $3.7 trillion budget for the next fiscal year, please welcome Richard Stern, the director of the Federal Budget Policy Center at the Heritage Foundation and former budget advisor to Congressman Mike Johnson. Really appreciate your time, Richard. The White House says Biden's budget does not raise taxes on anyone earning less than just under $500,000 a year and will cut taxes on middle and low-income Americans by about $1 trillion over the next decade. Is this true?
I think it's absolutely false. So, the way that these taxes are set up is that, sure, no person under those bandwidths files more taxes, but you're still going to be paying these taxes. These taxes are on small and mid-sized businesses. They're on investors, right? These taxes are going to be felt through higher consumer prices, lower wages for low and middle income Americans. It's going to be felt through slower job and economic growth. So that's really what's going on here is these taxes are designed to target the engines of the U.S. economy. these taxes make it much harder for companies to do international business, for example. So it'll drive those businesses overseas. Some of these taxes are on fossil fuels directly, right, which will actually raise gas prices for most Americans. So I think it's a complete misnomer to say that most Americans won't feel these taxes. They absolutely will.
Another concern surrounding all this budgeting is that in fiscal year 2023, there was a deficit. The United States spent more money than it took in as revenue here. Next, President Biden requested $6.9 trillion for last fiscal year's budget, and then for 2025, it's gone up. So why is that?
Yeah, so he's got about $500 billion of goodies, of things that, in my opinion, are promised give-outs to certain people that are new spending. So, if you think of it this way, he's unlikely to get the taxes passed, frankly, because even the last few times he and other Democrats have tried this, they've run into their own donors that have given them pushback. So it's probably unlikely that they'll pass the taxes. Spending is always a lot easier for Congress to do because it feels like magic money to them. So if they get the spending across, that'll raise the projected deficit from 1.8 trillion to over 2.2 trillion. So that kind of money, that kind of new deficit means higher interest rates on mortgages. It means higher interest rates on small businesses trying to expand. And it means more inflation pressure. So the consumer is going to be paying more at the grocery store, more for gas, more for rent, all of those sorts of things. So that's what his budget is asking for. And that's the tragic result that would come from it.
And all this comes as a time when former President Trump is talking about there may be cuts to Social Security, everything. Biden has made it a point to keep Social Security, and he's also tried to restore that full child tax credit to benefit Americans here. I want to get your perspective on these taxes for these corporations and high earners, and that's in hopes to help these lower income households manage the high housing costs. Is that a viable solution to that problem?
Unfortunately, I don't think it is. So, the truth is, for large corporations, for individual, people that have a lot of money, they don't feel the taxes, right? So corporations in particular, they don't really pay their taxes. If you think of what a corporation is, you have investors put money into it, and that money is used to buy new factory equipment, new trucks, store shelves, things like that, to employ people producing, goods and services. The books behind me, the clothes that we're wearing, stuff like that. So where does the tax come out of? It comes out of the workers, it comes out of the consumers, it comes out of new innovation that isn't adopted in the production chain. So, those taxes won't be felt by wealthy people. They have the money to flexibly deal with the taxes. It'll be felt by the low and middle income workers of these companies. It'll be felt by average Americans who are going to store shelves paying, more than 20% more on their groceries than they were when Biden took office. So that's who's going to feel these taxes. There's no way to have them be felt by the people Biden's talking about.
Yeah, inflation is definitely taking a toll on many Americans right now. Just in a few seconds here, Richard, how will Biden's budget impact gas prices?
Yeah, so, there's over $100 billion of new taxes directed at oil and petroleum. And so, that's going to transcend into higher gas prices. But, it's not just that, even though that's targeted at that, the full tax increase that's in the budget is $36,000 per American household. So that's going to be felt in a myriad of ways. Some of that's going to come right back to gas prices because gas is the most flexible thing in the economy because it's so important. So, across the board, right, I think this is going to be felt by Americans as higher prices, slower wage growth, slower job growth, less economic opportunity.
Great hearing your analysis. Richard Stern, thank you.
As always, thank you for your time.
And up next, a Boeing whistleblower sounding the alarm on safety issues, found dead in his vehicle.
And another Boeing flight incident, dozens of passengers injured. We have those details coming up. And a college junior wins the GOP primary for a shot at a seat in the North Carolina State House. Our conversation with the 21-year-old candidate on his plans if he's elected coming up.
Is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
You're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
Welcome back. A union representing New York City firefighters is raising concerns about possible disciplinary action against members. That's after New York Attorney General Letitia James was booed at a ceremony last week.
The Democrat, whose office won a $454 million penalty against Trump last month, faced a chorus of jeers and chants for Trump at a promotion ceremony in Brooklyn.
Fire officials called the conduct grossly inappropriate and disrespectful to fellow firefighters and their supporters. They asked those who took part in the chants to come forward as investigators reviewed video of the incident. An internal note shared on social media says department members have a right to express their political beliefs, just not on the job.
The union leader told Fox News that no members have been charged with any violations yet. He said before finding anyone liable, the fire department needs to hold themselves accountable for a failure to supervise. He also said firefighter ceremonies sometimes have a carnival-like atmosphere with air horns and costumes, and that organizers could have told firefighters to stop at any time during the event.
And a Boeing whistleblower has died in what South Carolina officials are calling a suicide. The Charleston County Coroner's Office said the man died from what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
62-year-old John Burnett had been involved in a lawsuit against the plane maker Boeing. He was found dead in a vehicle on the same day he was scheduled to appear in court.
Barnett worked for 30 years at Boeing as a quality control engineer before retiring in 2017. He had recently become a vocal critic of the company's safety and production quality practices.
At the time of his death, he was a key witness in a whistleblower lawsuit against Boeing. Burnett claimed the company retaliated against him for repeatedly reporting defects.
In a recent live-streamed interview, Barnett raised concerns about Boeing's quality control issues, specifically within the 737 and 787 aircraft programs.
Boeing expressed its condolences, but did not comment on the allegations made by Burnett.
And the Justice Department has launched a criminal investigation into the Alaska Airlines door blowout this January.
Since that incident, more mishaps have plagued the plane maker, raising significant concerns within the aviation industry. NTD's Christina Corona has more details on the latest events.
On Monday, many were injured on a Chilean plane traveling from Sydney to Auckland due to a sudden strong movement. Around 50 people were treated for mild injuries on site, with 13 taken to the hospital, including one in serious condition. Passengers reported that several individuals were not wearing seatbelts when the Boeing 7879 Dreamliner suddenly dropped. And Latam Airlines stated there was a technical event during the flight, but did not provide details. United Airlines confirmed that a Boeing 737 aircraft rolled off the runway at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston on March 8th. The flight had 160 passengers and 6 crew members on board. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the plane veering off the runway is still unknown. On Thursday, United Airlines Boeing 777 lost a tire during takeoff from San Francisco. However, it landed safely in Los Angeles, damaging a vehicle parked below. According to the FAA, the crew reported a landing gear issue. No injuries were reported. Christina Corona, NTD News.
16 Republican attorneys general are uniting against a bill in the state of Maine. They say the measure would stop other states from enforcing their own laws restricting transgender surgeries for children. They argue the bill would turn Maine into a sanctuary state for the controversial medical procedures. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti is leading the coalition. The proposed legislation shields sex change surgeries and abortions in Maine by limiting investigations, law enforcement actions, and extradition. It would also allow lawsuits against out-of-state parents opposing a child's sex change operation in Maine. Supporters of the bill, like Planned Parenthood, say it protects Maine's medical providers from legal action in other states, while opponents, such as the Maine Republican Party, say it interferes with parental rights.
Florida and LGBT advocates yesterday settled a lawsuit over what critics call the Don't Say Gay law. The deal lets teachers discuss sexual orientation and gender identity while also shielding the youngest students from those topics. Both sides claimed victory. Equality Florida is one of the rights groups that sued to stop the 2022 law. It celebrated the settlement as a landmark achievement, while the Office of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called it a major win against the activists. The settlement establishes guidelines to be used by state and local educators. While leaving the law in place, it allows students and teachers to openly discuss sexual orientation and gender identity in Florida classrooms, provided it's not part of instruction. The Parental Rights in Education Act was passed in 2022. It banned instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through the 3rd grade, and it was expanded to all grades last year.
A 21-year-old college student is headed to November's general election after beating out a longtime state House representative in North Carolina's GOP primary.
That's right, and I had the chance to speak to Wyatt Gable, a college junior at East Carolina University, about what his goals are if he manages to win the seat. So you just saw that nothing was being done, so you decided to take matters into your own hands, and you ousted, doing that, a state representative of almost 20 years. So tell me more about, the issues that you were running on and what you think your win says about what the community wants.
Yeah, so obviously the COVID stuff, I know that's not really an issue anymore, but it was an issue, very recently, and people still remember that. So that one, and then big thing is working on our education system. I think we got to teach simple things like home economics, shop, auto repair, so students are prepared for the real world when they leave high school, because nowadays you're just told, if you don't go to college, you won't amount to anything, which just isn't true. Then another big thing is talking about saving money, and one of the ways I want to do that is the North Carolina Department of Transportation wasted about $2 billion in a decade here. So I want to put checkpoints on them and the private contractors and say, if you don't reach a certain amount of completion by a certain day, you're going to lose a certain amount of money. So that way we can save tax dollars. And just being in my community, it's a big military town with Camp Lejeune, so trying to also work on the VA healthcare system at the state level.
I see. So, but also at the same time, you basically, like I mentioned, you broke a basically 20-year precedent. Do you think that the legislature maybe needed some new and fresh perspectives? What do you think you're bringing with you that they were, let's say, yearning for or they were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing I talk about is, you want a diverse array of opinions in your legislative body, and there's no one in the legislature anymore that's anywhere near our age. And I talk about how the voting range of the 18 to 29-year-old, that demographic just does not vote at all compared to other age range. So, and if they are going to vote, they're probably going to vote Democrat most of the time. So I'm trying to say, let's try and bring more people in to vote that are younger, but especially to, hopefully my side of the spectrum on the Republican side, and then just give people a feeling that, everybody's equally represented now because there's someone that's close to their age in the legislature.
And what's the biggest issue you would want to tackle then?
Yeah, definitely the education system, like I mentioned, teaching things that are simple so students are prepared for the real world. But another big thing is focusing on physical education, because those rates in terms of participation in sports and athletic events have gone down over the years, and they've especially gone down after COVID. So, making sure kids are getting involved with sports and actually participating in gym class. So, because when those rates go down, suicide, depression, obesity, and substance abuse all go up. So those are always negative things. So you want kids to be happy and healthy.
Well, thank you so much, Wyatt Gable, for taking the time today to speak to us. And it's really admirable that you stepped up and you decided to do something after you saw that nothing was being done. So thanks. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Stay with us. The director of the FBI says he's very concerned about threats emanating from the border crisis. Those include fentanyl trafficking, gang violence, and terrorist networks.
Can universities limit the speech of student groups whose views they may not like? NTD spoke with students whose attempt to establish a chapter of the Turning Point organization met with strong resistance.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Presenting the heritage of traditional Chinese martial arts, fostering martial ethics, and reviving the true tradition. The preliminaries for the 2024 NTD International Traditional Martial Arts Competition will be held across New York, Taiwan, and Germany. The grand finals will be broadcast live online worldwide in August 2024. For more information, please call 1-888-477-9228.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. on food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
Good to have you back. FBI Director Christopher Wray says there is a wide array of dangerous people entering the U.S. through the southern border.
Wray also warned of a human smuggling network with ties to ISIS. Here's more on the story.
Wray was questioned by members of the Senate Intelligence Committee on Monday when he said that the FBI is seeing a number of very dangerous threats, including fentanyl trafficking and gang violence, but also the danger of infiltration by terrorist networks.
There is a particular network that has where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
He clarified that there is no specific plot that the FBI is currently looking into, but he said he's been vocal about the threat of criminal activity from across the border. He called the border crisis a potential vulnerability that terrorist organizations could seek to exploit. Wray was asked about the huge number of border crossings, over 170,000 in January.
Numbers are important, but numbers don't tell the whole story. It only takes a few people who can be responsible for a whole lot of harm.
Overall, he said the level of threat for a terrorist incident within the United States has reached a new high. Wray told the Senate committee that there was a heightened threat level even before October 7th, when Hamas terrorists attacked Israel. Threats from homegrown extremists, foreign terrorist organizations, and state-sponsored terrorist organizations, he said, were all elevated at the same time, something he said he hasn't seen in a long time. But October 7th, he said, put it at a whole other level.
So this is a time, I think, for much greater vigilance than has maybe been called upon of us before October 7th.
According to Wray, the FBI is doing everything in its power to work with Homeland Security to address these threats. But he said they needed more resources because of the sheer amount of work involved.
Are conservative students unfairly censored at universities? NTD's Daniel Monahan brings us a look at a case of 2 college students in New York.
They tried to establish a chapter of Turning Point USA at their school and were denied recognition. Turning Point is a nonprofit organization that advocates conservative politics on campus.
It all began with SUNY Cortland students Gabriella De Lorenzo and Megan Rothmund. The pair attempted to start a chapter of the conservative Turning Point USA organization at their school.
When I was 15 years old, I discovered Turning Point, and I immediately loved what the organization stood for. I loved the morals that it had, the views it had.
And when Gabriella reached out to me about becoming vice president for it, I was so excited, and I was just like, it was exciting to become a part of something so great.
The young women say they wanted to bring together students who value freedom, free markets, and limited government, but soon ran into roadblocks. The student government refused to recognize their Turning Point chapter. The young women say student senators acted with a professor to question and demean Turning Point's views for approximately 100 minutes.
It was not something that should have been done to students by a faculty member especially, and overall it just influenced other students' values and ideas, and I feel like we didn't really have a fair shot as soon as we walked in the room.
The students say they raised the issue with SUNY Cortland's president, but were told, "We silence voices all the time in this country. That's the tragedy and also the greatness of democracy." Alliance Defending Freedom legal counsel Matthew Hoffman says the whole problem with the university's policy is that there are no guidelines for approving a club.
And that allows them to discriminate on the basis
of their views to pick winners and losers in views. And that's really the whole problem with the approval process here and why it violates the First Amendment.
Hoffman says it all boils down to the fact that students have the right to express themselves, affiliate with organizations, and promote dialogue and debate on campus.
And when students seek to enter into that dialogue as part of student groups, universities have to recognize them on a viewpoint neutral basis and cannot use their views against them to deny them recognition.
For De Lorenzo, she feels conservative voices aren't welcome on college campuses.
Some people don't want to say anything in the classroom because they're afraid that their professor might retaliate or that the students might retaliate against them and that they'll automatically be hated on campus or they'll lose friends.
I can definitely see there's sometimes a one-sided political view in a classroom. Sometimes I decide to keep myself out of those conversations just for the sake of being smart, knowing my place in the classroom.
Alliance Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit on behalf of the two young women earlier this year. The Student Government Association then overturned its original vote and has now officially recognized the group. But the legal organization says the university's unconstitutional policy, allowing students to deny recognition to student groups for any or no reason at all, still remains. Turning Point USA reacted to the overturning of the SUNY Cortland student government's decision, calling it a significant victory for free speech on campus. NTD reached out to SUNY Cortland for comment. We are still waiting to hear back from them. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Up next, optimism abounds at this year's Seafood Expo in Boston, despite economic challenges. NTD takes the bait and dives right in with experts. Get the story coming up.
Lord Heavenly Father, I pray to you today to guide us tomorrow. Give us strength as we face death. Help us not to be afraid, as we know that we are going to be coming to your
kingdom. There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
Thank you for staying with us. 2 dogs have died during Alaska's 1,000-mile-long Iditarod sled dog race. The fatalities mark the first deaths in the race in 5 years.
The dogs' deaths on Sunday prompted People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, to call for the race's end. PETA has long been the Iditarod's biggest critic.
A 2-year-old male on Musher Isaac T-Ford's team collapsed just short of a checkpoint about 600 miles into the race. He died despite a veterinarian performing a CPR.
A 4-year-old male on Musher Hunter Keefe's team collapsed and died despite attempts to revive him. He died about 630 miles into the race. The Iditarod said further testing will be done to determine causes of death in both dogs.
Both mushers voluntarily quit the race. Under race rules, they risked being withdrawn by the race marshal. Both Keefe and T-Ford are fairly inexperienced Iditarod racers. T-Ford is a rookie and Keefe was in his second race.
PETA says there have been over 150 dog deaths since the race began in 1973. An Iditarod spokesman did not immediately comment on PETA's call to end the race.
Sad.
Well, yeah, those dogs, they go through a lot in that race.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably made for it, like, you know, evolution-wise, but still got to take good care of those animals.
Well, yeah, and for all those seafood lovers out there, there was optimism at this year's Seafood Expo in North America despite economic challenges resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. NTD saw fish galore and dove in with industry experts. Let's take a look.
There's nothing oddly fishy about a market full of seafood.
We have tilefish from Florida, American red snapper. It's a beautiful fish.
This 3-day Seafood Expo North America is making waves from March 10th to the 12th in Boston at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. Steve Hart, an industry expert, says one of the biggest challenges for the industry in the past few years was the pandemic's shutdown of food services.
And because of the disruption to supply chains, we saw a lot of overproduction of seafood. So right now there's a lot of seafood that's sitting in cold storage, and still to this day, even a couple years after the pandemic, a lot of that seafood is still sitting there.
He says the challenge lies in getting that seafood to the market and into the hands of consumers while maintaining profitability when there's an abundance of fish. Vendors like Humble and Frank Food like to connect with locals at the expo.
Finding new flavors as well, so that trend more so on a South American trend, flavors, or a bit of a fusion Asian flavors there as well. So we really try and push and stay foodie, but make sure we stay relevant as well.
Attendees walk away with insight into timely issues relevant to today's seafood business environment.
Consumers are adjusting their palate, in a sense that salmon continues to be like the driver in the seafood category, at least in fin fish. They're demanding more, they're demanding more quality, which is good. We want consumers to ask for better quality, for more standards, for variety.
The CEO of a fish and trucking company says before COVID, his business was growing at a rate of about 15 to 16% a year.
During COVID, we actually grew at a rate of 20%. Since then, it's kind of waned down a little bit. I think it's an economy situation more so, but we're very optimistic.
Brzezinski says other exhibitors believe the seafood industry will continue to grow.
Smell-TV, anybody?
Right, yeah.
I'm joking, but
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah, smell-o-vision. No, but honestly, it looks, for a lot of people that I know, that looks like a feast, though.
It's really nice seeing the different colors that nature provides in its bounty.
Yeah, that's true. All right, on that note, a quick break at this point, but we'll be right back.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
Yeah, so there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. and we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Good morning. Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are our top stories. The House is set to vote on a bipartisan bill to ban TikTok from U.S. app stores if it doesn't break from its Chinese regime-linked parent company. Lawmakers now warning the company to stop pressuring users to lobby Congress against the measure.
The U.S. will contribute $300 million to a multinational security mission that seeks to restore order in Haiti. That's as Haiti's embattled prime minister resigns after weeks of escalating gang violence in the Caribbean nation.
President Biden unveiling a $7 trillion election year budget aimed at convincing skeptical Americans that he has what it takes to run the economy. What's been the reaction to his plan? NTD's business host Don Ma joins us to discuss.
A Boeing whistleblower found dead in his car on the same day he's due to testify in court. What officials are saying about his death.
And stressed out before a big flight, one airport has trained comfort dogs to help ease passengers' anxiety.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 12th. Today's top news, a House vote on a bill that could decide TikTok's future in the U.S. is set for tomorrow. The proposed measure would ban TikTok from app stores unless it's broken off from its Chinese regime-linked parent company, ByteDance.
Leaders of the House panel and the Chinese Communist Party are now demanding that TikTok stop its pressure campaign on users ahead of tomorrow's vote. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg tells us more.
Leaders of the Select Committee on the CCP told TikTok on Tuesday to stop deceiving users with false information about a bill meant to purge the app of Chinese Communist Party influence. Chairman Mike Gallagher and Ranking Member Raja Krishnamurthy accused TikTok of spreading false claims to manipulate and mobilize Americans on behalf of the Chinese regime.
As outlined in our bipartisan bill, if TikTok is completely divested by CCP-controlled ByteDance, if there is a separation, the app can remain in the United States.
The two lawmakers noted TikTok had solicited location information in its campaign, calling the act a new low. The House is set to vote Wednesday under fast-track rules that require a two-thirds yes vote for the bill to pass. President Biden says he would sign the bill if it passes Congress. That's after a House committee unanimously voted to advance the measure last week. Democratic Representative Debbie Dingell says she and other committee members voted to separate TikTok from the Chinese Communist Party, not to ban it.
I want TikTok to continue. I don't want the People's Republic of China controlling the data, the access to the data, and manipulating the data that they are doing. It is a threat to our national security.
House Speaker Mike Johnson calls the bill an important bipartisan measure to take on China, the U.S.'s largest geopolitical foe. Former President Trump told CNBC's Squawk Box on Tuesday he believes TikTok is a threat to national security, but that a ban would impact young people and could benefit Facebook and its influence in elections. Biden bans TikTok on federal devices for around 4 million employees in 2022. Both the FBI and Federal Communications Commission warned TikTok owner ByteDance can share user data, like browsing history, location, and biometrics with the Chinese regime. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
And for more analysis on the bill now, we bring in Bradley Thayer. He is a founding member of the Committee on Present-Danger China and the co-author of Understanding the China Threat. Good morning, Bradley. Good to see you this morning. So first, let's talk about what do you think is at stake tomorrow?
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to join you today. What's at stake is an important step forward in first raising the recognition that TikTok is a threat, a national security threat, and a threat to all of the users who are using it. Secondly, it's an important step forward in calling attention to actually implementing a separation between ByteDance, the parent owner of TikTok, so that it is not used by essentially anybody, obviously U.S. government or families or more broadly. And in that, the U.S. would be joining actions taken by Britain, Australia, and India, which outright banned TikTok before, as well as in accord with U.S. states like Montana and about 33 other states, which have also taken actions against the threat. So it's important to raise essentially awareness of this danger. However, the bill is an imperfect one, and it's not going to address the fundamental problem that we have with the influence from the Chinese Communist Party on the American people, U.S. government, and on the elections, of course, too, as we come up to 2024.
Right, a very important year this year on top of all that. So let's talk about the danger a little bit more in depth. So you mentioned before that this is also part of China's unrestricted warfare is what it's called. So I think that would provide much needed context in terms of how the Chinese Communist Party thinks. So in its essence, in most simple manner, how can we understand what unrestricted warfare is and why the CCP uses that?
Well, unrestricted warfare is a more recent term to a deeper concept of political warfare, which communists are expert at waging, which is to use every tool at their disposal, short of kinetic war, to influence their enemy in an effort to destroy the enemy. That would be the U.S. So when we're thinking about, as you said, unrestricted warfare, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is trying to use every means at its disposal to hinder, right, to have a deleterious effect on the American people and to spread the influence of the CCP in the United States. This is why TikTok is such a danger, because it gives the communist dictator Xi Jinping, in essence, direct access to so many millions of American phones, and thus to American people, their beliefs, their influence, and their voting behavior. Because the algorithm is so sophisticated on TikTok, it's able to essentially shape messages and thus shape essentially their users' opinion. So it's a great threat to essentially the American, our election, obviously in November of 2024, but also to American beliefs and to American identity. And it allows the CCP, again, to influence it adversely.
Right, and media, entertainment, pop culture, all that obviously plays such a large role. And TikTok CEO was testifying before the Senate last month. The CEO repeatedly said, though, that he was Singaporean and that the Chinese side of the business, ByteDance, namely, doesn't have much to do with TikTok. What do you think about that?
Well, that's dishonest. It's a spurious distinction. The PRC has a law, People's Republic of China has passed laws that require any Chinese entity like TikTok or ByteDance to share information, if asked, with Chinese intelligence service, with the Chinese military, and thus with the Chinese Communist Party. So any distinction that he's attempting to draw is a spurious one. It still remains a Chinese entity, and thus information gained by TikTok would be shared with ultimately Chinese intelligence services. And we know that they've employed TikTok as well as other apps to monitor the behavior of U.S. government officials, essentially U.S. government employees, and anyone in which they're interested, including the Chinese diaspora and human rights activists. So it's absolutely a false distinction, and no one should believe it. In essence, the solution is to ban TikTok in toto. That is absolutely as India has, right? I mean, that's a measure which should be taken, and that would be the next logical step to the House action tomorrow.
Right. Got it. Well, thank you so much. I would love to talk about it more, but unfortunately, we're running out of time. Thank you so much, Bradley Thayer, for breaking this down for us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We're moving on to Haiti. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry is resigning from his post.
Henry tendered his resignation after multi-nation talks in Jamaica. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged $300 million to a Kenyan-led security mission at the meeting. Here's the story.
On Monday, leaders from the Regional Trade Bloc Caribbean Community, or CARICOM, met in Jamaica to discuss the crisis unfolding in Haiti. Prime Minister Ariel Henry has been heading the Haitian government since 2021, after the last president was assassinated. He repeatedly postponed elections, saying security must first be restored. Last week, armed gangs took control of the capital, Port-au-Prince, demanding Henry step down. CARICOM chair and president of Guyana, Irfan Ali, acknowledged Henry's resignation and talked about the establishment of a transitional presidential council. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the council would be tasked with meeting the immediate needs of Haitian people, enabling the security mission's deployment, and creating security conditions necessary for free elections. He also said the U.S. would increase its contribution to the security mission.
I'm announcing today that the United States Department of Defense is doubling its approved support for the mission from $100 million to $200 million. And that brings the total U.S. support to $300 million for this effort.
Blinken also announced another $33 million in humanitarian aid. The proposals had the backing of CARICOM members. The Jamaican Prime Minister said the meeting was an important first step for Haiti, where gangs have virtually taken over the country.
We're all agreed that this cannot be allowed to happen, not in our hemisphere, with our long-standing democratic tradition.
Meanwhile, in Haiti, powerful gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, better known by the alias Barbecue, was out in the streets of Port-au-Prince shooting his gun in a show of force. Cherizier told reporters that if the international community continues down the road they're on, it will plunge Haiti into further chaos.
Today it's clear that the people who live in the shanty towns are the ones who know what they are going through. It is the Haitian people who are going to take their destiny into their own hands. Haitian people will pick the person to govern them.
Since February, gunmen have burned police stations, closed the main international airports, and raided the country's two biggest prisons, releasing more than 4,000 inmates.
A major shakeup is underway at the Republican National Committee, with dozens of layoffs reported yesterday. Anonymous RNC sources told multiple news outlets that cuts affect around 60 staff members. Departments being slashed include political, data, and communications, along with 5 senior positions. The shakeup comes just days after Trump's hand-picked team took control of the organization. The presumptive GOP nominee is looking to merge his campaign operations with the RNC. That's after the organization elected North Carolina GOP Chair Michael Whatley as its new chairperson last week. Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, will serve as the new RNC co-chair. Up next, President Biden unveiling a $7 trillion election year budget aimed at convincing skeptical Americans that he has what it takes to run the economy. What's been the reaction to his plan? NTD Business host Don Ma joins us to discuss.
A Boeing whistleblower sounding the alarm on safety issues found dead in his vehicle. And another Boeing flight incident, dozens of passengers injured. We have the details.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of alien tape free. You wouldn't stick your mother-in-law on the wall, but you could with alien tape. It just sticks. Just peel and stick to make anything stay in place quick. Brick, pavers, marble, tile, plastic, even leather. Nothing works better than alien tape. You wouldn't stick your fishbowl on a moving car, but you could with alien tape. The secret is nano-stick technology that grabs and locks on to secure one side of the surface to the other. Alien tape secures in seconds, then twist, pull, and rinse to reuse. Call or go online to get your first roll of alien tape for just $19.99, plus shipping and processing. But to make this deal really stick, we'll give you 2 more rolls absolutely free. You get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-490-1364 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-490-1364 or order online at tryalientape.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste, and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth, without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Good to have you back. And joining us now is NTD business host Don Ma to give us the latest updates from the business world.
Don, give us the rundown.
Okay, so some very important topics to discuss today, including Biden's budget proposal for 2025. I think you guys already talked about this earlier, and as well as the State Department is requesting $4 billion to try to outcompete with China. So starting with the budget proposal, not much that I can add that hasn't been said already, but I still think some important points are worth reiterating, and that is that this proposal is actually aimed at getting voters' attention from President Biden as he seeks a re-election. He unveiled a $3.7 trillion election year budget aimed at convincing skeptical Americans that he can potentially run the economy better than his rival, former President Donald Trump. And as of right now, it's just basically a budget wish list because it's unlikely to pass the House and Senate to become law without any changes for what's been proposed as of right now. So what is in the budget is that Biden wants to raise taxes by trillions on corporations and high earners with the hope that this will help cut the deficit and pay for new programs, helping some Americans pay for high housing and child care costs. And I'll just mention some of the key items. So Biden's budget for the 2025 fiscal year, it starts this October and it includes raising the corporate income tax rate from 28% to 28% and forcing those with wealth of $100 million to pay at least 25% of their income in taxes. And those are just some points among other items. And Biden's proposal budget would raise tax receipts by about $5 trillion over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great rundown on things to get a better perspective. But also, this sounds like something that people will have opinions on. So what are the reactions so far?
Yeah, of course, you know, with things like this, there's always going to be people who support it and people who are critical of it, and this is no exception. So it's getting praise, criticism. So the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, which is a deficit reduction advocacy group, called the proposal a welcome start, and will actually would like to see Biden go even further than this. But Republican House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson quickly rejected the proposal, saying it reflected an insatiable appetite for reckless spending and disregard for fiscal responsibility. And a think tank called the Tax Foundation says Biden's large tax hikes on businesses and the top 1% of earners would put the U.S. in a distinctively uncompetitive international position and threaten the health of the U.S. economy. So, I mean, no surprise, people support it, and some are not so supportive of it.
Yeah, and a note on Biden's budget is that it strengthens Medicare by taxing these high earners, and it also closes loopholes that allow some companies to actually bypass paying Medicare taxes. And speaking of budgets, what does the State Department need to outcompete China?
Yes, so the State Department said yesterday that to do this, it needs to employ all the tools at its disposal and requested $4 billion over the next 5 years in mandatory spending. So $2 billion will be used to establish a new fund for international infrastructure aiming to offer a trustworthy alternative to Chinese funding. And the other $2 billion was earmarked for game-changing investments to help Indo-Pacific countries push back against predatory efforts. And the official said that the budget request for fiscal year 2025 would enable the U.S. to invest in its own domestic strength, and as well as on top of that, collaborate with similar-minded partners, and with that, tackle challenges from China and use these resources to compete and protect American interests.
That's right, and that's while Chinese institutions reportedly lent 1.34 trillion to developing countries. But yeah, as you said, to strengthen U.S. shared interests. So what else do you have for us? I think Airbnb has some updates.
Right. On that front, Airbnb is banning indoor security cameras starting April 30th. The rental app says that to protect renters' privacy, this needs to be done. And cameras in common areas are allowed, like in hallways and living rooms. Hosts had to say in the listing that they had indoor cameras and make them clearly visible. The new rule doesn't allow them at all. The move comes after numerous reports of renters finding hidden cameras. And the new policy still allows outside cameras, but hosts must disclose their use and locations before guests book a listing. Also, outside cameras can't be in a place where you would expect privacy, like outdoor showers or saunas.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect us too much in the Big Apple after Airbnb restricted the access here in the city. But rentals, for the short-term rentals, are up in New Jersey because of that.
Yeah, sure.
Don Ma, host of NTD Business, thank you.
Thank you.
A Boeing whistleblower has died in what South Carolina officials are calling a suicide from what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. 62-year-old John Burnett had been involved in a lawsuit against plane maker Boeing. He was found dead in a vehicle on the same day he was scheduled to appear in court. Burnett worked for 30 years at Boeing as a quality control engineer before retiring in 2017. He had recently become a vocal critic of the company's safety and production quality practices. At the time of his death, he was a key witness in a whistleblower lawsuit against Boeing. Burnett claimed the company retaliated against him for repeatedly reporting defects. In a recent live stream interview, Burnett raised concerns about Boeing's quality control issues, specifically within the 737 and 787 aircraft programs. Boeing expressed its condolences, but did not comment on the allegations made by Burnett. And authorities in New Zealand are investigating what's been described as a sudden mid-air drop on a Latam Airlines flight. The jolt injured dozens of people yesterday. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner headed from Sydney to Auckland suffered what the airline is calling a technical event. Latam says the plane experienced a strong shake during the flight.
Came out of nowhere, and it felt like, when you are in a roller coaster and you just go like this, that sensation. And then everything flew up, went down, and it was like very shocking, very shocking.
When it happened, there was no announcements on the plane, no apologies, no nothing. Admittedly, a lot of the crew were injured, plus a lot of other people. There was a 2.5-year-old sleeping on the seat next to us on the other side. He went up in the air and landed on the ground, but his mother was nursing a 1-year-old, so she couldn't control both.
The last few years have been tough for home buyers with high interest rates, low inventory, and rising prices.
But the National Association of Realtors says there's reason for buyers to be more optimistic going into this year's spring market. Here's why.
It's not just the flowers in bloom this spring, the housing market is blooming too. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, many experts say this is the best time of year.
We always see more buyers as well as more sellers come onto the market.
Lawrence Yoon with the National Association of Realtors says many families want to close before the new school year starts in the fall, which is why this is a popular time to buy or sell. So, what can buyers expect this spring?
We are seeing an improvement in the consumer confidence about home buying process.
Yoon says buyers can be more optimistic for a few reasons. First, more inventory, which means less competition.
In the past 2 years, we have had a historically low inventory.
Secondly, mortgage rates have slightly dipped recently. According to Freddie Mac, last week, a 30-year fixed mortgage rate averaged 6.88%. At the end of February, it was 6.94%. While rates are slowly coming down, they're still higher than this time last year. Home prices, though, are still high.
We had a substantial price increase in the past 3 years, about 30-40% price gain in many parts of the country.
In January, the median existing home sale price was $379,100, according to the National Association of Realtors. That's 5.1% higher than January of last year, and it's the 7th month in a row that prices have gone up.
And do you feel stressed out before flying?
Therapy dogs are now on hand at Istanbul Airport to help calm the nerves of tense travelers.
The airport has been running the program for the past month. It helps reduce stress and anxiety among travelers passing through its terminals. Following positive feedback from passengers, airport operator IGA wants to expand the project. It wants to raise the number of dogs comforting travelers from 5 to 10.
A dog behavior expert and trainer accompanies the dogs around the airport. He says the dogs are trained not to react to sounds or people. He says the dogs chosen have gone through a year-long process in training.
Cute. I love that. All right, at this point, though, we're wrapping up our show here. Thanks for watching. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And I'm Kevin Hogan.